you don't want people to look at your slides. You don't want them to put their attention on the slides. Because at the time they put their attention on your slides, you lost them. And you might never get them back.
This is DevOps Paradox, episode number 314. Building your speaking career from Meetups to main stage. Welcome to DevOps Paradox. This is a podcast about random stuff in which we, Darin and Viktor, pretend we know what we're talking about. Most of the time, we mask our ignorance by putting the word DevOps everywhere we can and mix it with random buzzwords like Kubernetes, serverless, CI/CD, team productivity, islands of happiness, and other fancy expressions that make us sound like we know what we're doing. Occasionally, we invite guests who do know something, but we do not do that often since they might make us look incompetent. The truth is out there, and there is no way we are going to find it. P.S. It's Darin reading this text and feeling embarrassed that Viktor made me do it. Here are your hosts, Darin Pope and Viktor Farsic.
Viktor, it's no surprise, basically from April through November, you are on the road speaking at conferences the whole stinking time. Is that about right?
Yes, absolutely right.
And that's no different in 2025 for you, right? Has it gotten worse?
I thought it will be different. I thought, hey man, I'm going to go to 4 or 5 in total. And then we are now recording this before the end of January. I already have 30 and I'm going crazy.
30. Did I hear that right? 30?
Yes. Yes.
Holy cow. Okay. So that means a lot of different things. But rewind, Viktor. When did you do your first talk? First technical talk, do you think?
First technical talk, let's say 20 years and change.
Okay.
Maybe 25.
Yeah, so with that in mind, you did the exact same thing back then that you do today in preparation and how to get ready and all the things, right?
I was a bit more nervous back then. I did prepare a bit more, but I was speaking with a colleague, and I do remember that he was freaking out. Kind of, we cannot go this unprepared, and I thought that we're preparing too much.
Yeah, sounds like you. Well. So on today's show, we have Geoffrey Huck on. Geoffrey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks. Thanks for having me here.
Now, before we continue, Geoffrey, say your name as it's supposed to be said and not in the unfortunate Americanized way that it should be said.
All right. Okay. My name is Geoffrey Huck. You can call me Jeff.
Jeff. Oh, that's even better. Thank you. Okay, good. That'll even say. Geoffrey sounds very polite, formal, but Jeff. Okay, Jeff, I'm going to be okay today. Good. So Jeff used to be a software engineer that then pivoted to speaking. So that pattern doesn't seem very odd to me. I've seen a lot of developers maybe move into developer relations and then they might go out on their own and just do speaking. And that's all they do. I can think of 2 or 3 people that it seems like their job is to get on a plane and go speak at a conference. And that's it. Is that normal?
It's happening with development that is probably different than many other industries is the community. Very often developers would be involved in Docker community, helping prepare, helping this or that, right? And through those things, they get working more and more in public, right? Which eventually might lead them to speak, right? While in other professions, you almost need to decide to speak. Like my first talk was not intentional, right? I was just working in an open source project and we were invited to go and give a talk on a conference and so on and so forth. And before that, again, it's open source, so involved with community. So it's almost like a natural progression that does not necessarily exist in other industries.
What do you think, Jeff?
Some people, they start to talk and they realize for some reason that they like it. It wasn't my case at first. First, it was something I was extremely scared to do. and that I wanted to overcome because I felt it was limiting my professional evolution. And by challenging myself to put in those scary situations, I discovered I started to like it and even love it.
You started to like it and then love it. It sounds like a drug, unfortunately. Is that... Because I've seen some people, go down that path, and it's like, that you just get used to it, and now you got to have it more and more. It sounds like you maybe had a little bit of imposter syndrome to start out, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, I need this. Is that what happened?
Oh, I like your analogy with the drug. I think here what's the main difference is you might start to get addicted to it. But the question is doing it more and more and more something that creates more meaning in your life? Something that brings happiness, that gives value to others? Or is it just for yourself? So in this sense, you can see it as a kind of a positive drug. You get addicted to it, but the more you do it, the more meaning it brings to yourself and those around you.
How does that apply to you, Victor? Does that seem about right to you? I'm thinking about your 30. It's like, are all 30 going to bring meaning and joy to your life?
Most of them will, because we're entering into warm period, and I'm almost never miserable when it's warm. I'm miserable in cold weather. And there are a couple of places I've never been, like Costa Rica. That's going to be awesome.
So how does that align to you, Jeff, based on what he just said? If it's warm, he's happy. So again, the April through November in the Northern Hemisphere is typically warm. He wouldn't do so well, I guess, in that same time frame in Australia, but that's a different conversation.
Based on what we talked about, Victor seems completely addicted to public speaking. That's for sure.
That's interesting. Okay, we're not going to go down this rabbit hole way too long. I sort of gave a brief overview of how you did. You were developing, and then all of a sudden you started speaking. What was a tripping point for you to get to that point? Were you just fed up as like, okay, I can't open this IDE one more day. I would much rather open either Keynote or what's the Microsoft one? I've got it blocked out of my mind. What's the presentation software from Microsoft? PowerPoint. Thank
Shame
you.
on you.
I use a different one, so I don't even remember anymore. Did you just want to live in those kinds of tools instead of an IDE?
I still write my presentation in a Markdown, and it's still in Git repo, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I know you do, Victor, but I'm asking what Jeff did. What was that changeover for him?
Strangely, I didn't start talking about a specific topic. My goal at first was just to overcome a fear. So I would just go on stage, improvise on some silly topics, doing improv. And it's only once I was comfortable on stage that I found the topics I wanted to talk about. But the content wasn't here first. It was first the willingness to challenge myself. And then came the willingness to share what I knew.
Talking about being comfortable on stage. I mean, you just walk up on a stage and you look at people. What's so hard about that?
The emotional reaction that you have before going on stage can be overwhelming. And you can try to find the reason why. You can try to narrow down the fear, but this might not help to overcome it at all. You just create a story about the why.
Create a story? Why would I need to create a story? I mean, I'm just going up to talk, right? And you were talking about let's do improv. It's like, why do I need a storyline? It's just improv. I'll just say whatever I think of.
But the thing is, it's just an emotional reaction. And the best way to overcome fears is by exposing yourself willingly to the fear. Just do it again and again. Do everything that you feel is scary to do. And that's how you overcome the fear. So you don't even have to find an explanation for why the fear, because the process of exposure doesn't require you to understand what's happening.
Let me set up a scenario real quick. Let's say I have submitted to a number of call for papers and nobody is giving me a chance. I'm getting frustrated. I've got like 2 or 3 topics I can talk on. Nobody's giving me a chance. So it's obviously them and not me because they don't know how great I am. What is wrong in that scenario?
You get accepted for your ideas, not because of who you are. If you get rejected, it doesn't mean that you as a person has been deemed not good enough to give the talk. It just means that the organizer saw your abstract title of your speech and didn't think that the audience would be interested by this talk as much as the other options that were available. That's just what it is. It's not a rejection of you. It's a rejection of your idea at the time it was received and in the context it was received. Or if you want to practice, I suggest joining a Toastmasters club. It's a public speaking club that you find in all major or middle-sized cities, where you can usually meet up every week or every 2 weeks and go on stage for a few minutes. So if your aim is to improve your speaking skills, that's usually the first step to do.
Okay, assuming that I don't have a Toastmasters near me, what's my next step?
Move to a city, bigger city. Yeah, move to a bigger city where there is Toastmasters. As easy as that. No, but Geoffrey's right. Toastmasters are now everywhere. So it shouldn't be a big problem finding it, really. Actually, let me digress over there. Toastmasters is amazing. I absolutely agree. But that's a route that you already chose to decide to speak, right? And to focus only on speaking, not necessarily on other aspects of things that might be useful for you wanting to be in public as engineer, right? In our profession, fortunately, you have even more meetups than Toastmaster clubs, right? There are KCDs and DevOps days and this and Java something, right? You have those meetups everywhere, and you don't even need to go there with the intention to speak. Toastmasters is great, but you're forced to kind of go on the stage in a way, right? People rotate. This you can just help out until you get the courage to jump on a stage, and you will be speaking about. Actually, you will be speaking to the audience that is used to the subject of the stuff you want to speak about, right? Toastmasters is very generic. You will find a teacher, you will find a coach, you will find another software engineer, you will find a doctor, right? In software meetups, you will find software engineers, right? Likely souls. People who are doing the same thing that you're doing. You're probably equally scared as well.
Meetups are a great way to start. Definitely. And you can even just go there and do a 2 minutes impromptu speech, just ask the organizer that you would like to try it. There is nothing wrong by going to an event, asking the organizer, hey, I'd like to practice my public speaking skills. And it's something that I never did before. Can I get just 2 minutes to talk about something to get some practice? That's a very easy way to get your first experiences. And then if it goes well, or if you want to talk for a longer time, just ask for a slot. Usually, organizers are looking for people to make talks, and it can be as short or as long as you want.
I'm going to correct you just a little bit. You said usually meetup speakers are looking for talks?
Organizers.
Organizers. Organizers are always looking for talks. Not usually, always. It's a never-ending thing.
It's even better
for them. Yeah, I guess it depends on the market, but I can say, and Victor already alluded to this, we're recording in January. I'm doing a meetup in the Dallas, Texas area in February that the organizer reached out to me because I'm part of the group. And I think this is the other part of it is, okay, I want to speak at all the Java user groups. Okay, great. Do you attend any? Well, no. Why not? You got to become part of the group, part of the community. That will help you get in easier. It doesn't mean that you will always be accepted, but it'll help because you've already built the rapport with people. Does online make a difference nowadays anymore? Meaning, Viktor has a very strong online presence between the podcast, the YouTube channel. Does that help it out if you wanted to go speak somewhere?
Having a name that people heard helps a lot, right? And when I say name, that can be a name. Hey, in my village, right? In my city, in my country, in whatever, right? That expands over time. But most of the submissions will be very similar. And reviewers are very often, I'm not talking about conferences rather than meetups. Reviewers are bombed and have to reject 90% of them. And then in the sea of equally mediocre submissions, if they see, hey, I saw that guy, right? Or that girl. I heard that person speak. That can help, right? But that's a grind because it takes a lot of time to get there.
One of the advantage of having a relation with the organizers is that in case they don't find your speech or your topic interesting, you will know the reason why. When you pitch online to people who you don't know, you will get ignored a lot. And it's very easy to get discouraged. And you will never know if it's because your message ended up in spam or if it's because of you. That's how you can doubt on yourself. Or if it's because of the topic, or it's because for another reason. So that's probably what you did, Viktor, when you started. You found topics with people who you knew, which allowed you to know what types of talks are interested and accepted.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was a open source project I was maintaining, and that was remotely interesting, and I was invited with a colleague.
So it sounds like Viktor was able to make that happen because people reached out to him, but it was a colleague. He did it, again, 20, 25 years ago. Let me ask this to Viktor.
I was young back then.
Yes, you were. So when you did that setup, can you even remember how you went through the process? Again, you said earlier, I feel like we're behind. That was your partner in this. And you were thinking, we've got way too much already. Or some variation of that, right?
That depends on personality, right? His logic was always, he changed a lot, just to be clear, right? He doesn't do that anymore. Back then, we need to know every sentence, every word, everything that we're going to say and how we're going to say it and what we're going to answer if they ask and what's or not, right? My logic was, I know this stuff. What's the worst thing that can happen? It's a bunch of nerds that are more afraid of me than I'm afraid of them.
You're not right, or you're not right. You're not wrong. So let me ask this. I know you, because we've been doing this for long enough now. You're actually an introvert. You're not an extrovert.
I'm an introvert. I never start the conversation. You will never find the person who will tell you that I approached him or her and ask, how you doing? That never happens. I don't know how that fits into me being on a stage. I honestly cannot explain that.
Well, no, I think I know why. We'll see if Jeff agrees with me or not. So you, by nature, you are an introvert. You're not going to initiate things. However, if things are already happening and people join in, at that point, you are a semi-extrovert because you've already found your comfort level. And for you, now you have found your comfort level on the stage, on the platform. It's not new to you. So when you were setting that up, Viktor, did you make any kind of normal mental changes, or was it really, these are a bunch of nerds. These are my people. And I don't have to worry about it, right? It was just the comfort level.
Yeah. Yeah. And I said earlier that you will never hear or see me initiate the conversation, right? But when I'm asked, I can talk for hours if it's something that I'm familiar with, right? So you need to ask me first. And conferences are like that. In my head, I'm probably wrong, right? They asked me to talk about BDD Assistant. That's the name of the project. Doesn't exist anymore, right? So I'm not initiating this. They asked for it.
So coming back to Jeff, how does that storyline align with what you've seen and maybe even what you've gone through? Because it sounded like you got fed up. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. You got sort of fed up with the whole development life cycle, and you just wanted to beat a fear. So then you just started speaking until you found what you wanted to do. And then once you found what you wanted to do, it sounds like it was probably pretty similar to Viktor. You knew the content, you knew whatever the ideal was, and you were able to take it from there. Is that about right?
Before speaking, actually, I started by challenging myself in networking situations. And I completely understand, Viktor, when you say that you're not the one who initiate. And I've actually had people I worked with to work on their speaking skills that during our discussions, I discovered that they were doing this, never initiating. They were comfortable once people came to talk to them, of course, because everyone knows how to talk, right? So why wouldn't you be? If you're in an event where you're passionate about the topics, and if someone comes talk to you about it, of course you can talk for hours. But what I discovered, and it worked for me, but it also worked with people I work with, is that initiating a discussion is just a muscle. It's hard to do it the first times, but once usually, if you initiate a conversation at any event, any place, with 3 different people, like you go there, start a conversation. Once it's finished, you go to another person and you iterate 3 times. Then something happened. There's a kind of a mental shift, something switch in the brain, and you start to get very excited and you want to talk with everyone. And if you never experienced it, you might believe that you're not the type who initiate. But the fact is, if you try it, do it a few times, you might completely change how you view yourself. It happened with many people I met in networking events who were extremely outgoing, which is the type of people I am today. And when I ask them, they usually tell me the same story. Oh, I'm a huge introvert, but somehow I found what we call the extrovert switch.
How do we flip that extrovert switch? Because I still have a problem with that. I am still very much an introvert.
Initiate a conversation with 3 people. Go to a place, initiate 3 conversations.
At the same time?
No, one after another. And the first one will be crazy hard. The second one will be hard. The third one will be still a little bit hard. And then somehow you feel open, you feel more energy, and you feel a kind of excitement that makes you want to talk with everyone.
So Viktor got used to speaking on stage. I actually am fine speaking on stage. It's not that big of a deal. But what about people that as soon as they step off of the ground level onto that first step to take 2 steps up to a stage that's 6 inches off the ground, or however many centimeters that is? I don't know. I can't do the math in my head. How do we help people get over that, overcome that perceived stage fear? Because it may not be real stage fright. It might be something else.
It will be scary the first times. I don't think there is any way to remove this. Even if you practice a lot on smaller stage, going on a bigger one, there will be some additional pressure. But that being said, when you talk on small stages, you develop habits. And small stages means even less than 8 people. You develop habits of looking at people, of using the stage, the ways of talking, of expressions. You don't lose those habits when the pressure is higher. A bigger stage or could be a situation that is of a higher stake. So you keep those habits, but suddenly you feel a lot more energy. And most people, they don't really know what to do with this additional energy. You start to feel tense, you start to feel, it's really energy. What I recommend in order to prepare yourself for those moments is to go to a smaller stage, but do as if it's a big stage. So you talk louder, you may express yourself with more emphasis, with more energy. And I think this is the best you can do to prepare yourself for those situations.
I'm going to throw in a couple extra ones there because in the times where I wasn't actually on stage, I'm used to doing event production. And to me, there are two types of speakers. There are the people that you would love to work with again, and then there are the jerks. Don't be a jerk. What do I mean by that? Don't show up with 1 minute left on the clock before you're supposed to start. And it's like, hey, here's my 3 computers I need to get hooked up. I'm not going to be a very nice person as a stage person. What I do want to look for is somebody that showed up maybe 10 minutes before, and they're sticking with me throughout the time. My favorite person, Victor, you're not going to like this one, showed up during the previous break. If it's a multiple break room or breakout rooms, they showed up during the previous break, or maybe even before that, and scoped out the room and already introduced themselves. It's like, hey, this is the kind of thing I'm going to need. When would you like for me to be here so it's easier on you as the tech person for the room? Those are important things. Going back to my earlier example of, don't you know who I am? My response as a tech person is, I don't care who you are. I'm not being paid enough to put up with this kind of crap. Am I wrong in that, Jeff?
It's the idea, right? It's the you're here for the ideas, for the insights, for the value, more than for a person. So in this way, yes, I agree. And oh, by the way, talking with people of your audience before your speech can be a very effective way to know what people are here for. Because if you ask for feedback after your speech, they will be biased by the content you gave them. But if you ask them before, they can tell you exactly what they would like to get from your speech.
But I already have all of my slides done. I don't have time to rewrite my speech.
Oh, you don't have to modify it. That would be a bit too much. But for the next time, you will know. And if you always have the ability to illustrate. You have your speech, and then suddenly you remember about this person who told you about their specific situation. Let's say that they are working on a sales system and they have a specific problem. Then during your speech, you can always say, another example would be if you're in sales and you have this specific problem, that's the type of things that you can use in order to fix it. It can be very, very slow, small hints.
Let's talk about the actual presentations. We were talking about the slides a minute ago. So all slides should have a minimum of 20 to 25 bullet points at 8 point. There should be at least 70 slides for a 10-minute talk. What else am I missing? And there needs to be video in it too. That has to reach the internet. Okay, Jeff, what am I doing wrong here?
Everything. Just do the opposite. You don't want people to look at your slides. You don't want them to put their attention on the slides. Because at the time they put their attention on your slides, you lost them. And you might never get them back.
But the slides is how I communicate. That's how they're going to remember things.
You'd be very disappointed if you were to check what people remembered from your speech a week or a month after. It's almost nothing. They will definitely not remember your slide. They will just remember, if you did your job well, 3 or 4 key ideas.
So you're saying I don't need slides. I just need to come up with, it almost sounds like a storyline 3 or 4 points, like I'm going to run somebody through 3 or 4 points and I get to a final conclusion. Are you saying that's all I need to have a good presentation?
Yeah, that's the core. Yeah.
But that just seems too simple.
If it's more complex, they will not remember. You can show the process of an idea. Instead of just saying, this is what I say, let's have an example. If you were to give a speech about the importance of testing, of automated testing, you might start by talking about horror stories in which there were no tests. Then a good story in which there were tests. What's the difference between the two? Then you can talk a little bit about the how you do it. What are the main mistakes that you should avoid by doing it? So you're still in it's the same idea that you look from different point of views and that you talk with different methods, with a story, with facts, with statistics. So it's the same idea, but from different point of view, which gives more strength to the idea itself. But the main ideas the big ideas in a talk, you shouldn't have more than 3, maybe 4. 3 is better, usually.
So that's interesting. So let me ask, if there's 3 main ideas, it seems like I'm splitting my focus. Are you actually stating there should be a main idea and then 3 supporting things to get me to that main idea?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just making sure, because it's like, boy, I've been doing them all wrong if I'm supposed to be doing that. This is a DevOps podcast. Typically, today's a little bit different. We always talk about continuously improving, shifting left, all these other things. Do you have any strategies to improve, continuously improve as a speaker? Like I guess you got to do it, number one. Because if you're not speaking, then you're not a speaker. It's like, if you're a writer or you're not a writer, well, if you're writing, you're a writer. Same thing with speaking? Doing
is the base condition. If you don't do, you can't improve. But yet we still, many, if not all of us, have this example of people who talk every day for years, for 7 to 8 hours, and yet who are extremely boring. Probably have an old teacher in mind. So just speaking will not make you improve. The key to improve is to stretch. You need to stretch your skills, your abilities. If all the time you go on stage and you stay behind your microphone and you speak in a monotone voice, you can do that for years. It will never change. If you want to be able to be more expressive, more emotional, to use the stage, you have to do all those things. You have to expand your comfort zone. In public speaking, since it's a highly emotional state you're in when you do those speeches, the best way is to do everything that you feel scared to do. So if you never raised your voice, if you never said, hello, Houston, that kind of things, do it once just to see if you like it, especially if it's scary, because being scared to do something means that you somehow find that there is something interesting in it. We are not scared of things that we would never do anyway. But we are scared of things that when we picture ourselves doing it, it raises our heart rate. So do everything that you feel a little bit scary.
I'm scared of lions. After this conversation, I'll go to the zoo, jump over the fence, and overcome it.
For about 2 seconds.
Maybe 5. If it's already fed.
What else can we do? I mean, it seems like we've got to do, but if nobody's giving me the opportunity to do, what do I do? We talked about Toastmasters, but let's say I can't get to Toastmasters because I've got 6 kids at home at night, and I just can't do Toastmasters at nighttime.
Or if you have kids at home, why not telling them a story? Every night you tell them a story and see if attention don't lie. For example, it's storytelling. The ultimate point is attention. If when you talk your story, you realize that you have the attention all the time, then it means it was a great story. If you realize that at some point people start to look away, it means that you didn't tell your story in an engaging way. If you have children at home, I actually work with a client who have children at home, and it's exactly what he's doing so that he can practice more. Another example, very easy to do, is record yourself. You can choose a topic that you like, that you want to share something about, record yourself 2 minutes and watch the result. And do it until watching yourself doesn't feel cringe. That's usually a good way to know if you're comfortable, if you seem comfortable, is when you watch yourself doing it, you don't feel, it's very weird. It's fine. Then you look natural. So this is a good hack.
I'm guessing unintentionally you've used 2 minutes in a couple of different examples. What's magic about 2 minutes to you?
The most important part is the beginning. If you don't put the right amount of energy in the beginning, you will have to climb. And you see many speakers like this. They start speaking a bit low, and it takes 2 minutes before they are a bit comfortable. But if when you start, you're directly going with your energy, you don't spend those times to go up. So I like doing small speeches because it's something that makes you practice the start.
Because if you don't get the start right, nothing else matters. You haven't hooked them, I guess.
Or if you don't get the start right, you might never get attention. You might never get a good impression from the people who are looking. So most of the time when you go to a speech, you hear the first 30 seconds and you know if the speech is going to be good or not. If you're not hooked, can't force being hooked. It's the job of the speaker to hook the audience.
So let's talk about this for a second. Viktor has been doing some co-presentations with a couple of different speakers over the past couple of years. What do you think about that? So let's say that you're a reasonable speaker on your own, but now you're going to do a tag team with somebody else. How does that work? Have you thought much about that, Jeff?
You need to do it with people who you have a good dynamic with. And something that you have to try. Some people, it works well. Others, not much. What you should avoid, though, I have a few experiences in watching that kind of talks. Private jokes, really, really bad. Usually the audience, when you do private jokes and then the audience, they don't know what you're talking about and you just lose them. So that's something that you should be aware of.
I want to go back to the storytelling structure for a second. Some stories, you start cold, you build, you end. That's sort of a classic structure. One structure that, depending on what day of the week it is for me, is getting to the end from the beginning. Meaning, it's sort of like these murder mysteries. You halfway into the story, you set that up as the start, and then you rewind and build up to that point and continue. What do you think works the best? Or is there a best? Or just different stories?
Start with action, not with descriptions. Actions are what works the best to set up a story because people they get hooked very easily. And if you look at movies always start with something going on. You don't see it's not introduction and description. So yeah, starting like you said, something that is already going on. It's the best way to start a story.
So if that's the best way to start a story, what's the best way to end the story? Do we drag it out? Do we just keep on beating the dead horse? Or do we come to an end?
Why do you tell the story? Usually there is something that you want to achieve. You want people to learn something. The way you use your story is to put what you want to say in light. Usually it's about a transformation. There is something going on, there are problems, there are obstacles, and there is a transformation. That's what the story is all about. So that's where the story should lead. That's also how you should write your story, by knowing what's the end. And then once the end is stated, once the transformation, once you reach the peak, that's when you should just cut. Because everything that's coming after the peak will be obviously less interesting than the peak itself. So why would you impose this to the audience?
Because it's important information to me. That's why.
Yeah. That's why it's so hard to write stories. Because we have this bias. You lived, if it's about something you lived, something that you really happened to you, you have all of those things that you want to tell. And that's why it's so important to ask someone else what they think of your story and what they find is not needed to make your point, because we are very bad to judge it ourselves. We are so attached to the details and what we want to say that we are better off by asking someone else those questions.
What haven't I asked? It feels like setting up stories. We could spend hours talking about how to set up a story, how to build a PowerPoint deck, what is the bottom line here? If we're just wanting to get started, where do we just start? Is it, if we have kids, tell them a story? Maybe at first read them a story, then eventually create a story and then tell the story? How do we get started?
That's great. Yeah. We can get started by recording short videos. If you can go to a Toastmasters club, go to a Toastmasters clubs. Otherwise, go to Meetups. Ask for time to speak. If you have an opportunity where you're at a dinner to tell a story or to say something, try to do it in a dinner. Or in a meeting, if you're not the type of person who speak up, whenever you have something that you feel is important, speak up. That's how you build a muscle. Also, if you go to a conference, they always ask for questions at the end. Why wouldn't you be the first one to ask a question and see how it goes? You have all of those opportunities around you. It's always behind something that's a bit scary. But that's the sign it's the right thing to do if you want to improve. Because if it's not scary at all, you're not really improving. You're doing what you already know.
So what I'm hearing is we just need to do it scared.
But not too much. If it's paralyzing, it's probably too much of a step. It's nice to have a little base of fear, because it shows that you're trying something new. And it shows that you're trying to improve. Because if you try something new, automatically you improve. Because if it works, you keep it and then you're better. And if it doesn't work, you know more about things that don't work. So either way you win.
If it goes to other extreme, if you are so paralyzed that you poop yourself, the audience will certainly remember your talk more than anybody else's. It's going to be the most remembered talk in a conference. I guarantee it.
It will. And by the way, if you freeze up, it's fine. Many people are scared of the freeze.
But after you poop yourself, you need to unfreeze and go get off the stage. Otherwise, it's going to be a real disaster.
Usually, if you freeze, the best thing to do, just talk about what's happening. Okay, guys, there was one thing I was really afraid would happen. It's forgetting my speech. And guess what? It just happened. Can any of you tell me what I just said a minute ago before I froze? Just talk about what's happening. Because you're a human, everyone knows it's scary, so no one will be mad at you. And just telling what happens can and will create a human connection with people in the audience. And as you do it, instead of freaking out, instead of thinking, what was I thinking, and running your mind 100 miles per hour. Just talking about what's happening now will slowly relax you, and then it will be fine. So if you poop yourself, just say it,
or not, but just keep it. Whatever works for you. Let's leave it that way. All of Jeff's contact information is going to be down in the episode description. Jeff, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, guys.
We hope this episode was helpful to you. If you want to discuss it or ask a question, please reach out to us. Our contact information and a link to the Slack workspace are at devopsparadox.com/contact. If you subscribe through Apple Podcast, be sure to leave us a review there. That helps other people discover this podcast. Go sign up right now at devopsparadox.com to receive an email whenever we drop the latest episode. Thank you for listening to DevOps Paradox.